Hey everybody, Jimmy Smith back to own my picks for UFC 317. I'm a new king at 155 pounds, but let's start from the bottom. An entertaining card, not a ton of finishes on the main card, but still fun to watch, I think. All entertaining fights. Payton Talbot, Felipe Lima. I picked Payton Talbot. The reason I did, if you didn't see the original breakdown, is more UFC experience. I thought in the little tiny things where just a little savvy will get you by and help win close rounds. He'll have those things, and he'll, a little bit more than Lima, who, while very experienced, is inexperienced in the UFC. Right, lost his first fight, has won 14 straight, but just starting his UFC run. Right, it was his third fight in the UFC, and that's exactly what happened. Payton Talbot, a little bit sharper. When Lima would get the takedown, Payton Talbot would scramble very, very well and end up on top. And one problem Lima had is a lot of fighters, when they land something good, a rookie will like throw the kitchen sink at you trying to finish every time they land a good shot. A more seasoned fighter will put pressure on you but not let you off the hook. And too often in this fight, Lima would land a good punch. It kind of rock Talbot's head back, and then he kind of reset and not do anything and let Talbot physically and mentally back into the fight. You don't have to explode and try to finish him because you landed a good right hand, but you do want to get in their face and test maybe that they're rocked or see if you can capitalize on the advantage. I thought way too many times, because there were some good exchanges on the feet where Lima landed some good shots, he didn't press it enough. Right? You don't want to overpress him. You don't want to not press at all. And I felt too often he would land a good one, bang, and not even physically see if he could take more space away from him. He'd play the outside, and in a close fight, that can be all it takes. Obviously, Talbot got mount late in the fight, late in the third round, but got a little cocky and was kind of like showboating a little bit, and Lima escaped mount. So you see the things that Payton Talbot needs to work on, right? Hands are pretty low, did take a lot of punches, as I said earlier. But in transition, he was good. Good fluidity with his strikes. I thought Lima looked good in spurts, but once again, without the UFC experience, he didn't put it all together like a veteran guy should. So not a bad fight for him. Very exciting, entertaining fight. He'll be back. But Payton Talbot getting back on track after the first loss of his career. So he did show improvements. He did look good, and I think it's upward and onward for him. So I'm 1-0. That's a good start. Beneil Dariush, Renato, Carnero, Moicano, whatever you want to say for his nickname / last name. When I broke this down, I said Beneil Dariush, a little bit bigger, a little bit more experienced, especially in big fights. He makes this a grappling fight, and he wins a decision. In the first round, I thought, oh man, I'm in trouble here. Moicano was putting the physical pressure on, making it a kickboxing battle, landing some good strikes, and dropped him at the end of round number 1. Now, Beneil Dariush recovered very, very well. But then in rounds 2 and 3, it became the fight I thought it would be, which is, Beneil Dariush using his clinch work, using his cage work, using his takedown. Once again, a little bit bigger, very, very good on the ground. Moicano isn't bad either. He's a decent grappler in his own right. But especially on top, it's hard to catch veteran guys, right, from the guard. And, for example, the Payton Talbot fight I just talked about, he didn't try to do much from guard. It was kind of like initiate scrambles and get back to the feet or get on top, right? So once Beneil Dariush started working the takedown, started working the top game, it's really hard to get anything done against that guy. He doesn't make a lot of fundamental mistakes. I saw him way back in the day at an ADCC qualifier. It was a gi thing against Crone Gracie, and I thought he beat Crone. And he was a brown belt back then, which, Crone used to eat those guys for breakfast. And, so his ground game is very, very good. And he started taking it over, and rounds 2 and 3 were very much a Beneil Dariush kind of fight. The problem, of course, with this performance is, he's always been good at beating the guy who isn't number 1. Right? It doesn't really get... Beneil Dariush got to win, which is always way better than a loss, right? But the idea that, he's back. Well, kind of back where he was before, which is, unless you're the number 1 guy or in line for a title shot, Beneil Dariush can beat you. He's a veteran guy who's very, very dangerous. But, he's got to prove he can beat the top guys, and that's always been the issue for Beneil Dariush. So it kind of puts him back on the treadmill that he's been on for a few years, which is, he's got to go on a 5 or 6 fight win streak to get any attention, and when he does, then you have to beat elite guys, and that gets harder and harder to do when he's 36 years old. So he's back on the treadmill. In a way, so was Moicano, because I never thought Moicano was elite at 155 pounds. Never thought he was like a title contender at 55. Just a tough division. I'm sorry. It's really, really hard. I think he's a very good fighter, but very good isn't good enough at 155. So Moicano kind of goes back to where he was too, which is a really solid mid-level fighter. Gatekeeper status, I don't know. Depends on your definition of gatekeeper and where you want to put him, but both guys kind of showed us where they are. And I think where they are, Beneil Dariush is a little better than Renato Moicano. But he's still not a title contender, and I don't know, it's going to take another streak, and he may be too old to do that at this point. And Moicano, I thought, was a really good mid-level fighter. Really, really solid mid-level fighter. Well, that's where he goes too. So, good win for Beneil Dariush. Their futures are still kind of like, I don't know how bright they are, but Beneil Dariush wins over Renato Moicano by decision, basically the way I thought it would go. So 2-0. Joshua Van, Brandon Royval, fight of the night for sure. Look, I picked Brandon Royval. The reason I did is Van's last fight was June 7th. Let's do a little math. Yeah, 3 weeks ago, this guy fought in the UFC. And as I explained in the breakdown, you peak for the fight, and then your body kind of crashes a little bit. My old coach used to call it fighter's flu, where even in fights where I didn't get touched and it was a short fight, I'd wake up the next day like I got hit by a train. And my coach at the time said, Jimmy, you've been amped up for 8 weeks. You've been keyed up. You've been stressed. You've been, working your body really, really hard. Whether you get hit or not, and whether it's a tough fight or not, there's a recovery time. Your body just waited for this date. This date happened, and you kind of crash afterward. Well, 3 weeks after your last fight, you're still dealing with that. You haven't gotten in shape to get in shape, really. And so in this fight, which is why I went with Brandon Royval, but sometimes in a fight, it looks like someone doesn't have a plan. Or I sit here, the Monday after, whatever it is, and I go, I don't see what this guy's plan was. With Brandon Royval, I saw the plan, which was, I think, his coaches thought what I thought, which is, hey, this guy just fought 3 weeks ago, was a late replacement for Manuel Cape, or Cop. Push it real hard and he'll fold. So Brandon Royval gave as good as he got throughout this fight. Arguably up until the last few seconds of round number 3, this was really up in the air, and then he got dropped, and that kind of gave Van round 3 in the win. But the problem was he was like really pushing it, really in his face. He was the bigger guy. He was landing good strikes. Van was landing good strikes. And you could see, in my opinion, I'm not on his coaching staff, the idea that, okay, stay in this guy's face and make it a brawl and he'll start fading. Well, midway through round 2, he wasn't fading. He was clearly prepared for a kickboxing match for as long as it had to go. He was landing good strikes. I think he landed over 50% of his significant strikes, which is an incredible number. The problem in Royval's case, and another reason I picked Royval, is he's more experienced. He got a very well-rounded game. He can do a lot. He never went to that toolkit. He never went to that second level. It was, I'm going to kickbox this guy and he's going to fold. Midway through round 2, you have to see this guy's not folding. Right? That this is, I'm in a war and this guy's not slowing down. Okay, let's see how this takedown works. Okay, let's get him against the fence and grind him a little bit, because the system it takes in your body to strike and grapple are two different systems. And if you're doing great in the striking part, you got plenty of gas, and then you wrestle for 2 minutes, and you're like, oh my God, I want to die. And it's the same way the other way around. An all-American wrestler can wrestle all day. You make them strike and be loose and snap, and they're like, your body's doing something totally different. One is very tense, right? The other is very loose and relaxed, and if you're not ready for one, your body can't handle it. Brandon Royval didn't say midway through round 2 or the start of round 3, hey, I'm going to take this guy to the fence, see if he's in shape for a grappling match. He's clearly in shape for a kickboxing match. Let's see how he handles a grappling match. Let's change this up. Let's do something else. Let's use my big fight experience to take this fight somewhere else. And he kept it in Van's wheelhouse for 15 minutes. I understand the first 7 or 8 minutes, thinking if I keep this intensity high, this guy's going to run out of gas. Well, when it's clear they're not, great fighters make adjustments. That's what guys like GSP and Anderson Silva and John Jones have always done their whole careers, is this isn't working or this isn't getting me the results I want. Let's switch it up. And Brandon Royval didn't do that. And I couldn't understand it. As round 2 was coming to a close, I'm like, okay, Brandon, I see what you were thinking, but this is not happening. You need to change this up. And he didn't. And it stayed a kickboxing match. Fight of the night, great stuff. But Van able to kickbox for 15 hard minutes. Hard minutes. That's impressive. Anyway, he was, I think, number 12. He beat the number 1 guy, the number 1 contender at 125, which is absolutely incredible. Hey, we're about to discuss Alexandre Pantoja. He needs a dance partner. Could be Van. So great stuff by Joshua Van. My first loss of the night, so I'm 2-1. Alexandre Pantoja, Kai Kara France. I picked Alexandre Pantoja. I think anyone with 2 cents would pick Alexandre Pantoja. I'm not disrespecting Kai Kara France, but I brought up in the breakdown that he's 5-4 in his last 9 fights. It's not as though he's tearing it up. Like, he's a solid fighter. But they're running out of guys, and they need to throw someone in there who hasn't fought him before. He's a top-shelf guy, but Pantoja is here. He's right here. He's the top. Kai Kara France is somewhere in there. Really respectable fighter, but Pantoja is number 1 with a bullet. And that early back take, folks, I've been doing jiu-jitsu a long time. And taking somebody's back against the fence the way he did from almost a crab ride position and he threw his legs over is really hard to do because your opponent can kind of get up and kind of scrape you against the fence, and it's really difficult. 9 times out of 10, the guy turns and gets in guard. Not Pantoja. His back take is slick, it's smooth, it's technical, and you kind of saw Kai Kara France go, God damn, like, usually you can get out of this. One of the things they teach you to do when somebody's got your back in MMA is get to the fence where you can kind of like, they can't move and you can, and kind of scrape them off. And Kai Kara France was like, dude, he just took my back from this position? Jesus. You could tell. Body triangle, long legs, that is misery in round number 1. And then he slowed down a bit in round number 2. Kai Kara France, had some moments. I still gave Alexandre Pantoja that round. His leg kicks are brutal. He has really good stand-up. He's great on the ground, but his stand-up's good. It ain't bad. And in round number 3, he took his back and got a vicious rear naked choke and finished him. Round number 3, 1 minute, 55 seconds in. Had his back pretty much the whole time in round 3 and just took him a second to get the rear naked. He's number 1. He's the best guy at 125. Period, end of sentence, right? I said a couple fights ago, I went, Pantoja is the best 125-pounder in the world. Is he a level above everybody else? He was winning a lot of split decisions. So they were close fights. It wasn't like he was here and everybody else was here. He's starting to pull away. And it's Teddy Atlas in boxing. I work for Pro Box TV, and I used to work with Teddy Atlas a lot. And one of his expressions is, some guys get 30% better when they become champion. Other guys get worse because they've achieved their dream, and they're kind of like, oh, well, they don't have the hunger to stay champion that they did to become champion. I think Pantoja very much in that category. Since he's become champion, he's looked better and better and better and better. And he is number 1 in the world, 125 pounds. And it ain't close. So could it be Joshua Van next? Sure. Unless Pantoja decides, I want to be a kickboxer for that particular fight, he's going to win. Because he can take you down, take your back, and finish you. Period. End of sentence. That's what the guy's good at. And Joshua Van, as excellent as he looked against Brandon Royval, that was exclusively a kickboxing match. That is not the kind of fight Alexandre Pantoja will have. I'm skipping ahead. I'm putting the cart before the horse, whatever. We'll figure all that out later. But Alexandre Pantoja did what almost everyone expected him to do, which is win by submission. So anyway, I am now 3-1 heading into the main event. I picked Ilia Topuria. I said the only way you make money is if you do take Ilia Topuria to bet on an early finish, because Charles Oliveira does tend to get cracked early. And that's what happened. That's right. Ilia Topuria knockout 227 into round number 1. Once again, I saw the strategy of Charles Oliveira. Trying to big man him a little bit, right? Trying to work the clinch, trying to get inside. He was the bigger, taller guy. Wrap him up, make it about the ground game. And it was not happening. And when it did go to the ground, it was Charles Oliveira on his back. Does have a very dangerous guard, but as I said in the breakdown, shave 30 to 40% off your jiu-jitsu in guard, right? Shave maybe half in MMA where somebody can hit you, right? So the idea that Charles Oliveira was going to catch Ilia Topuria in guard, possible but unlikely. meaning Topuria has really good defense. He's stocky. He's short. That's when being the smaller guy can help you out, is when you're in guard, because your limbs are short, easy to defend. And what did he do? Pass to half guard, try to get a crucifix. You saw that he was active with his jiu-jitsu. Guy has really good jiu-jitsu. And Charles went for a leg lock transition. He kicked out. He had already been cut over his eye in an early exchange with Topuria. They stood up. Topuria lands a combination from hell. Bang, bang. Right hand, left hook combo. Crisp, tight, sharp, powerful, accurate. Outgo the lights of Charles Oliveira. So first round knockout for Ilia Topuria. Like I said, 227 in round number 1. Folks, when it comes to boxing and MMA, and there were some people in the comment section, boxing isn't that effective. I mean, I get what you're saying. Of all the arts you can put together to make a mixed martial artist, boxing is probably least effective, because if someone's in boxing range, they're in grappling range, and a lot of grapplers will take you down. But if you're going to box, that's how you're supposed to do it. I mean, I watch Ilia Topuria box, and I go, that's how you're supposed to do it. Once again, sharp, crisp, tight, no fat on his punches. Once again, Teddy Atlas says it all the time. Guy got too much fat on his punches. He gets too wide with his shots. Like Max Holloway is a good, boxer for MMA type guy, and Topuria was inside every single punch. Max was kind of throwing these haymakers, and Ilia was inside landing tight, crisp, sharp punches. You just cannot box with this dude. Nobody can, up to 55. Right? I'm not saying there aren't guys who are going to give him problems, whatever. I just, no one's going to stand and box with him. Either be all the way outside or all the way inside. You are grappling or you are kicking with this dude. But he showed real power. No one had done that to Charles Oliveira at 155 pounds. That was nuts. He's legit. There's no other way to say it. Now, the aftermath. Paddy Pimblett coming in the ring and them doing a stare down and all that stuff, and him being maybe the next guy. Dana White understandably furious that Paddy Pimblett was allowed in the Octagon. Folks, Octagon security is a big deal. Okay, you don't want to let people in the Octagon. Now, the problem is there's UFC. Now, this is called fighter operations. This isn't part of what I do. I've seen it a lot, but I don't know exactly. The commission is the one that's kind of guarding the cage, and the promotion itself can have its own security people. They don't have their own, goons to keep people out of the Octagons. Usually the commission and the people with the venue, right? Mistakes happen. You called somebody out, they get in the Octagon. Whoever's guarding the Octagon door says, okay, I just called him out. I guess he's supposed to get in there. It's supposed to be the promotion itself is supposed to go, hey, if we didn't okay this, don't let this person in the Octagon. That's why Dana White was so mad. Because what it does, number one, you could have a Jason Miller, Nick Diaz brawl on television, which look it up on YouTube if you don't remember it. Or you can have two guys posing off going, and the UFC's like, we didn't agree to this fight, right? So now everything I've seen, by the way, about this fight has Paddy Pimblett and Ilia Topuria nose to nose yelling at each other. Well, now the UFC's like, well, we didn't necessarily want to make that the next fight, but now it's got juice and it's hard to step away from. It's a double-edged sword because you want people excited about the next contender. I don't know why it wouldn't be Paddy Pimblett personally, but I do get how Dana White's like, hey, look, if we didn't make the fight and let those two guys in there to have a pose down and a face-off, don't make the decision for us because you let some idiot in the freaking Octagon. So I remember with Bellator, I forget the exact circumstances of what happened, but someone got in the Octagon and did a similar thing, or they were yelling at each other or whatever the deal was. And online, people were like, oh, Bellator let that happen because, they don't allow people in the cage. Dude, stuff happens. Bellator was not happy about whatever that situation was. I don't remember what it was. But for the same reason, that wasn't going to be the next guy to fight this guy. And now they're in the cage yelling at one another. And then also security issues of them getting in a fist fight and all that stuff. And Bellator didn't want that. They just messed up. They just, whoever was supposed to be watching the cage door let this person in. Guys, it happens. It's just, they don't want to, but it happens. But in this case, I think it sets up the right fight between the right two guys. Obviously, I would break it down if it gets closer. I have said this before because there is beef between these two guys because if you don't know about it, Paddy Pimblett had made fun of Georgia and the Russian invasion of Georgia, which Ilia Topuria's family fled and ended up in Spain. So he was pissed at Paddy Pimblett when they got into it at a hotel somewhere. And so there is legitimate real beef. They really don't like one another. And I said after they had that altercation in the hotel, I said, I think Ilia Topuria puts Paddy Pimblett in a hospital. Dude, that guy is, and this is back when he was like just coming up, and I went like, he don't want none of that dude. And I stand by that 100% right now from what I'm seeing. I like Paddy Pimblett. He's really come a long way. I don't think he's the guy that's going to stop this run. So who does? Obviously, the UFC's got to, Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett are the next two guys. The problem is the division is aging out. It's getting real old, right? So the names we've been seeing forever and ever and ever, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway, whatever, Michael Chandler, they're all getting too old. Beneil Dariush is still in it, I guess. I don't see him getting a title shot unless there are no other options. I don't think at 36 he can hang around that long. Arman Tsarukyan, right? But we're just talking about the same people for a long time. So here we have this guy right in his physical prime. I think he's 28 years old, kicking ass, doing everything right, and a division full of like guys in their mid-30s trying to catch up, and some guys coming up like Paddy Pimblett, who I don't think he has a skill set to beat Ilia Topuria, but he's just in the right division at the right time, unless Islam comes back down. So we'll see, but there it is, 4-1 on the night. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Appreciate all of you.